Right, we're recording now.
Buzzing. So we'll do it as like a little swapcast then, yeah? So
Yeah.
for those of you listening on World Around You's podcast, you'll notice this is the first one that hasn't pretended it's a radio show, because that radio station is now dead, doesn't exist, and this is about 3 years after I've recorded any of the other episodes that you've been hearing for the past 2 years. Yeah, but I'm not going to keep it up. I can't be bothered looking for music for it, and I'd stop making the playlist anyway. For those of you though listening on History Homos, I'm the World Around You, and for some reason I've ended up as guest host because I've wrote down some scribbles on paper to try and keep the show going. Will's just turned up with next to nothing other than his daughter and a dog.
No batteries.
Yeah, no batteries, ill prepared, no material, nothing. So we'll see where this goes. Do you want to... What do you think of the Southwest?
Yeah, well, welcome to History Homos. What do I think of the Southwest?
Yeah.
It's beautiful. It's like, I've been before.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, fair.
I'm a truck driver.
Oh, I'd forgotten that.
Yeah,
I
don't get down here very much, but yeah, it's beautiful, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a bit like Yorkshire, a bit like Scotland.
I've never seen Scotland.
Haven't you?
No. I hadn't seen here before I moved here.
No.
I just was off my face and I applied for university and don't remember.
Oh, right. I thought I was. My guess was that it was a lady that
it was that kept me here.
Yeah.
The lady and the weather.
Yeah.
But outside of that, before I came here, I had no idea what it was like down here.
Do you get a lot of hostility for having an obvious regional accent that it doesn't sound like a pirate?
Yeah. The first time that within the first hour of being down here, we went just over to Cornwall to a place called Saltash.
Yeah.
And we went into a chippy, because we're northern.
Yeah.
Like, oh, food.
Grockles.
Yeah. And we went in, and my dad held the door open for a lady with a pram.
Yeah.
And the woman kicked off with him for holding the door open. Going, you fucking think that I'm incapable of holding the door open? What, because I'm a woman on my own with a pram? And he was like, well, yeah, I thought you might want a bit of help, but tell you what, love, take a step back. Go on, just step back. And my dad's only like 5 foot nothing. He's a tiny little fat man. Like, step back. And he just closed. Yeah, gorgeous toes, which you can buy from worldaroundyou.com. And he just he closed the door on her and just thumbed up at her like that, and then she proceeded to not be able to get into the chippy for the next couple of minutes.
Yeah. You think that's a Cornwall thing more than just a woman thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because a lot of stuff happens in Cornwall where you're like, oh, this would not happen elsewhere.
Yeah.
Like, I watched a guy have a stroke and I just ignored it because I just thought it's just because he's Cornish. Yeah. My mum bought a vase off him and threw the money on his belly like he was some form of like weird stripper who was just slowly dying in his armchair in an antique shop. We had no idea. It wasn't until we was in another shop and then someone pointed it out to the guy in that shop going, is he always that quiet and sort of withdrawn and droopy on one side of his face? And the guy was like, oh my God! And he ran out the door, and we was just climbing over him, trying to buy antiques.
You should make that story that you went back to you should modify it so you went back to the shop because your mum told your dad how much you'd pay for the vase, and he kicked off because it was too dear.
Oh yeah. Have I told this before then? Yeah.
I've heard it before, yeah, because I'm a listener to the show.
Oh, fair enough. I didn't realise they'd said it somewhere. But yeah, that's an example of Cornwall. Yeah. They don't like you because you're northern. Loads of people down here thought I was Scottish for years, and they all thought, everyone I introduced myself to thought I was called Jock because they all thought I couldn't say Jack right.
Right. Yeah. You didn't say Jack.
No. Throwing out the extra R in the A, getting in an extra consonant.
Yeah. You know what a pirate's favourite letter of the alphabet is, don't you?
R.
No, they love the sea.
Oh. So you got an answer for whichever smart ass goes for whichever letter. Yeah, very nice. Yeah.
Yeah. So I wanted to try a joke out on you before we start.
Go for it.
So you might have heard it before because it is a traditional joke, and I told it to little Emwardina here in the car on the way down, and she wasn't quite sure about it. So here it goes. There's this bloke, and he buys. Let's make it in Cornwall. He buys a farm in Cornwall, right? And he's got all his stuff unpacked out of his pickup and that, and everything's set up. And he thinks, I'll just go down. I saw there's a little pub down the road. I'll just go and get a pint. Goes in pub. There's only one other bloke in pub. Sat on stool. He sits on the stool next to him. He goes, now then. The bloke goes, ah. He says, I ain't seen you round here before. And the bloke goes, oh yeah, I've just moved in. Like I've just moved into a farmhouse up there. I'm setting myself up in the farm. He goes, "All right, farmer, but you, what kind of a farmer? What kind of farming operation you got going on there?" He says, "Well, I'm a bee farmer. I farm bees." And the bloke goes, "Oh, I'm a bee farmer too. I've got a bee farm." And so he goes, "Oh, that's a coincidence, isn't it?" He says, "You must have moved in up at the old Henderson place there over the hill." He says, "Yeah, that's right. Yeah." He says, "All right. So, what kind of a bee farming setup have you got then?" He says, "Well, it's pretty standard, really." He says, "I've got 50,000 head of bee, and I run them out of 5 hives, 10,000 bees per hive. It's just a standard, normal production model." Shut up, dog. And someone goes, I've heard that. I've heard it done that way before. He says, "Well, how do you do it then?" He says, "Well, I got 50,000 head of bee too, but they're all in one hive." And the bloke goes, "It seems a bit like inhumane. Isn't that a bit like inhumane and a bit callous, just keeping them all cooped up like that? 50,000 of them all in one hive?" And he goes, "I suppose so, but fuck them."
It's just
Now,
you love your bees. Every time I talk to you, you bring it back to bees. Either a fight with your neighbour over bees, or bees this, bees that. Just love them. Obsessed with bees. Someone needs to buy you some bees. There's a dead wasp on the side over there you can take with you.
yeah. Oh, well, we might. I've got a few. I've just cleaned I've got an insectocutor in my house.
Okay.
I've just cleaned it out, and it's got all last.
That sounds
summer's,
like a bee movie in and of itself,
Yeah,
doesn't
it's
it?
got
The
all
insectocutor.
last summer's crops in it. In fact, I got one of them. I thought about you. I got one of them Asian hornets.
Oh, aye.
Because we had a nest of them at Gable End at house, and one of them ended up in fly killer in kitchen.
That's terrifying.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
But I thought I should have saved that. I could have brought it down. Jack could have made something out of that.
I think I've got some in necklaces in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but I didn't. I just chucked it in bin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always wondered, do you reckon there's people that get about and they find dead bees and that on the ground and they're like, did it die of old age, and they try and sting themselves with it just to see?
No,
Because they lose. No, that's what I'm wondering, innit? Do people do it? There's people that do all sorts, innit? So
Probably.
there's got to be people that are curious over the old age death of bees.
Yeah, there's probably all drones die off, don't they, at the end of summer?
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, because they're like useless eaters.
Oh, that's
So
a hell of a society, innit?
It's just the females that.
Do you reckon that's the society they're trying to head us towards? They've tested it out on bees
this is why I'm
first
so
and
up in
now
armour
they're
about
like,
bees. I can see which way it's going.
trying to going for the change, being like, I want to be the queen. I've got to work on it, but I need to get there.
Yeah. These drones are out grafting all summer, building honeycombs, flitting around, nicking. This is well, your listeners probably don't know what my beef about bees is, but I'll run through it.
Yeah, go on.
Everybody always likes hearing this. Bees. So my neighbour across the road.
Well, just for the listener, if you hear weird dogs-like noises, it's because there's a massive hole to a depth that I'm not sure where leads, and the dog's small enough to fit through it, and I don't want the dog to die, because it's bad for business if a dog dies here and I can't skin it myself.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Are you? That's a bit of an awkward question, but what about like good taxidermy? Do you reckon you could? You've done enough taxidermy.
I'm pretty sure I can do it.
Yeah.
I just don't see a point in it.
Yeah,
I don't want to, but I think I can. I buy and sell good taxidermy and fix it.
Yeah,
I can fix good taxidermy, and you don't know it's been fixed. I'm quite proud of that.
Yeah,
because that's an easy way to make a couple of quid for me. But
yeah,
I did a boar's head and someone nicked it. I don't know if I've told you that before.
No way. No,
a massive boar's head, and then someone just came along a couple of weeks later and robbed it. It was taller than the board it was on was taller than that chair you're sat on there.
Right.
Massive head on it.
Medium height chair for the listeners.
Yeah, maybe about 2.5 foot or so.
Yeah.
2 and a bit foot.
Well, a boar's head is a big thing.
Yeah. And they just nicked it. Just walked out of the building with it.
Yeah.
I'm not in the building, obviously, because I would have chased them. Been like, oh, that's me pig.
Yeah. So well, my problem with bees is my next door neighbour, across the road neighbour. She's a lovely lady, but she keeps bees. She's got about 10,000 of them in one hive. and
See, I'm going to have to ask.
Yeah.
I don't understand the joke. And I don't know if it's because of a lack of knowledge of bees.
Well, you can Google it.
I don't know what Esmeralda thought of it, but I wasn't overly keen.
You can Google it. It's a historical joke. It was going around my circle. I had it off my brother.
Your circle of beekeepers.
And
Hive enthusiasts.
I told it to my... I used to sort of semi-knock about with a radio guy from up north, Martin Kellner. And I was driving him somewhere. And I told him that joke. And he just goes, oh, yeah, that's the bee joke. And he goes, oh, yeah, it's a famous joke, that. It came out of the jazz scene in New Orleans in the 1920s.
So in the way that jazz isn't good, the joke's not good either.
There's whole internet sites about that joke.
That's mental.
Right.
I'm not even being an arse. I don't get it.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have enough bee
Well, some people say it's racist.
Oh.
Some people say everything's racist.
Or something, then, is it?
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, who knows?
I mean, that's more on them, though. I think if someone listens to something and they're like... Is that racist? And they're saying it with a smile. It's like they want it to be. Yeah, of course, yeah.
I don't really know what it's about, but the first time I heard it, I laughed my ass off. I thought it was hilarious because it is undeniably stupid.
Yeah. And it's a long. There was 2 points before that where I thought, oh, I think that was the punchline, because of the little pauses as you rearranged yourself in the chair, and I was like, oh God, I'm lost here. I feel like I've not listened to it all.
This is like Ronnie Corbett's chair off the Two Ronnies.
Go on then, give us a ramble.
So it's got,
Give us a ramble then. Give us a producer Corbett-style ramble.
I was playing golf with my producer. So it was, oh yeah, my bee beef.
Yeah.
So the lady across the road keeps bees. I'll do this as quick as I can. And we're sort of... History Homos kind of operates in some kind of a liberal or libertarian or something... over a space where we're all about property rights, respecting one another's property rights, right?
Yeah.
So here's my problem with bees. My neighbour's bees fly over systematically day after day all through summer and drink all the juice out of my dandelions, my property, my dandelions, daisies and whatever weeds growing lawn.
Yeah.
They're just scoffing on that and turning it into honey. And to make matters worse, they're cross-pollinating me flipping dandelions. If it weren't for bees, they'd all die off. I wouldn't have the blasted things.
Have you not seen that mosquito AA gun that someone's made that keeps going viral?
No.
It's an automatically powered, battery powered, sensor-driven AA gun aimed for shooting down flies.
Right.
It just fires salt at them.
Oh,
and takes
yeah,
them
I've heard
out
of that.
the sky,
Yeah,
and it spins on its own.
An automatic one? Wow.
Yeah, completely automatic. I think it's AI driven.
I know there's like
measures it in the air. Yeah, you got that shotgun thing full of sand, but you look like a dickhead if you're running around your garden with that. Like you're thinking, especially in the middle of summer, you're just there salting your ground. People will be watching you out the window going, "It's never going to."
Yeah, I wonder who invented that. It's like an iron dome for camping, isn't it? Automatic anti-aircraft.
You just, it's a lot of spare time, and it's someone who's looking at a fly going,
yeah,
could roll up a newspaper, but who buys them anymore?
I invented something last night.
Did you?
Travelodge, yeah. I'm going to give it away because I'm never going to do anything with this information. Do I have your permission, little Emodina, to give this brilliant idea away? So, I've got a 12-volt fridge for camping.
Yeah.
A big one.
Yeah.
And I took it into Travelodge to plug it in the thing to keep it cold overnight. And I put it on the dressing table next to the television, and I'm sat there having a beer, looking at it, and I thought, wait a minute, what if? I mean, it wouldn't interest me, again, because I don't watch television, but, like, what if there was a television screen on one side of the fridge?
So fat people don't miss the programme they're watching?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, why not?
And
put them in the cupboards and all.
Or
crisp cupboard.
Yeah.
One in the back of there, a little projector on the top of the crisp cupboard.
You have a flap on the front of it, and you fold it down.
Yeah.
Keyboard, laptop, fridge. For the camper who always has to be at work.
I suppose. Yeah. It's for someone who's forgot the phone exists.
Yeah. There is an outdated invention. That's why I felt
slightly, but
because nobody watches TV anymore, either, do they?
Not really, but I feel like you could sell it to people. You could probably sell it to like middle-aged and older women if it was a slideshow of photographs of their children from when they still liked them.
Yeah,
and that was what was coming up on the fridge.
That was a big thing for a while, wasn't it? Them things that were a slideshow, because
people loved them. But it was only a very certain demographic that was buying them.
They should have them, in like old people's homes. They ought to have a big one of them on the wall of every room, and then when you drop your parent off at it and leave them there forever, you just give them
stock footage.
Give them an SD card of a load of photographs of yourself.
No, you give them stock footage, stuff off of like Betty Images or whatever it's called, and it's just pictures of strangers. Yeah. And every now and then it superimposes the granny's
that
face
come with
onto
the frame.
it. Yeah, the equivalent of that, the modern day version.
No, well, I mean, I like old people's homes. In fact, I had a regular listeners of History Homos. I love this. I had a interaction in Morrison's today in Plymouth.
Yeah.
In Plymouth, old bloke in front of us in the queue in Morrison's. And this is what I like about the self-checkout, because I don't use self-checkouts. I'm not paid by that establishment. I'm not working there.
See, for years I stayed at using the people on the till.
Yeah.
Because I was thinking to myself, if we all start using the machines, these people are then without jobs, and that's creating more of a problem. But then I stopped using them after I started to get a lot of looks and snarky comments off of the people working on the tills because they were having to serve me. Then I started to think, you know what, bollocks to yous.
Yeah.
Lose your jobs. Spend the rest of the day.
I don't do it to save their jobs. I do it because if I start getting invited to their Christmas do, and if they start paying me or giving me some money off for using it, then maybe I'll use it. But
that's what they're doing.
I don't work it.
Cards, innit, and the club cards.
I don't have them.
That's your discount. Your workers' discount.
But you can use them anyway. You can use them on checkout. Anyway, they normally have really good checkout operators nowadays, especially like our local Morrison's. It's like an old pit village, and it's all old lads that used to work down pit or whatever.
Okay.
And they're all really funny.
So just coughing the guts up over your veg.
Yeah. But there's an old lass up behind till today, and this old lad, he was like messing around, and he was just like teasing her, pretending to be in a hurry and all that. And she turned around to him and she says, "Listen, you know that gentleman hasn't finished yet. You just wait, you old bugger."
See, I'm never on the receiving end, really, of these fun interactions. I've lived where I live now for about 8 years, maybe a little bit longer.
Yeah.
And 3 weeks ago, the guy who works and owns the little shop kind of close to my house has started making conversation with me.
Right.
Like, they're closed off people. I've tried.
It's very, isn't it?
For years, I've tried being like, "You alright, mate? Hello." And you just get, back.
Yeah, I
don't mind, but I don't think he's from round here either. I think he's developed how to be.
Yeah.
Based on how people have treated him.
It's socialisation, isn't it?
Yeah.
My best mate at school was from down here, Totnes.
Oh, that's a weird place.
Yeah,
I got banned from there. I'm not allowed to take part in markets or anything there because I had a big howdy do with the mayor.
Right.
Of Totnes, because she was being a dickhead. I think I must have told this story on one of my shows before, either possibly on Truth Seeking. I applied for a craft market, so I could sell me taxidermy.
Yeah.
And I got an email back within like half an hour or so saying, "Look, you're really not what we want. Don't apply. We don't want things like this there. It's not. It goes against the ethos of the town."
Right.
And I said that doesn't seem particularly fair. You've got like a leather shop and that, and then they got a bit arsey, and I got a bit arsey back, and then I sent them a long list of all the mobile butchers and fishmongers that work in their area and take pictures, and the fishmongers, the butchers, the leather shops, the shops that sell couches and handbags. Sent a whole list of that.
Is it a bit like Whitby? It's got like places that sell AC/DC wrist sweatbands and
no, that would be more like Glastonbury is a bit like that, right, over in Somerset. But I know what you mean. Maybe Paynton's like that actually.
Right,
Paynton and Torquay. Totnes is like posh hippies.
Ugh.
Like people that are
evil hippies.
Yeah, hippies that don't understand the mentality of being a hippie.
Yeah.
They're like, "Oh yeah, we're all for the earth and that, but it's okay because we've all got at least like 2 million in the bank."
Yeah, that's all hippies.
Well, I don't think it was the original hippies, was it? The original hippies was just poor.
Yeah,
people.
they were all rich. It was the CIA and rich kids.
Was it?
Yeah, like Weather Underground and all that shit. They were all flipping Harvard graduates.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I always had this impression that they were poor. And
that's the impression you're supposed to have, yeah.
Oh, see, look at that, I've been conditioned. See, this is how you know it works, isn't it? They can get a mind as paranoid as mine to believe it.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they obviously sucked a few of the proletariat into it with them.
I've just finished 1984.
Oh, yeah.
I've never read it before.
I hate the ending of it. I wanted it to have a happy ending.
Well, it's I listened to it as an audio book, so I kind of cheated, but
Yeah.
I like it because they do the voices. It's
Yeah.
nice. And it starts with like chapter 1 to 6, and then it's chapter 1 again, and then it's chapter 1 again a bit later, which
What?
was confused. Yeah, it's like it's read in 3 acts. And
Right,
it goes
okay,
like
yeah.
chapter 1 to 6, 1 to 4, 1 to 5 or so.
They don't repeat the literal same chapter, though, do they?
No,
Yeah.
that would be a nightmare.
Not the copy I read.
And the ending was just.
It's just so bleak, isn't it?
Yeah, but in a way, a magical ending.
Yeah.
In the like, not in like a literal sense. It's not like, oh wow, I feel great after that.
Yeah.
I got it and I was like, oh wow, I really thought he was going to do it.
It's a brilliant
adds
book,
to the world.
but it's one of them which if I hadn't have read it when I was much younger, I wouldn't have read it because I'd have thought everyone's always spaffing off about it so much. I thought it must be shit because everybody likes it.
That's why I thought I wanted
Yeah.
to read it, because I thought it wasn't going to be much good.
Yeah.
There was bits where I liked it. I didn't like the whole love interest bit at the beginning with
It's such a letdown.
Winston and is it Joanna or whatever, with that, and I was a bit like Julia.
Whatever. I can't. It's a long time since I read it.
That was a bit like, they're really
But
dragging
isn't that
this
what
out.
makes the ending so poignant as well?
No, because because they turned on each other and then they wouldn't speak to each other at the
Yeah.
end. But I don't know, like I could have listened to a changed version. I listened to it on Spotify, so that could have been completely edited, and they're like, don't tell them the real ending because this is what we're going to do next week. So we've got to change this up now, so they don't see it coming.
Yeah, I haven't read Brave New World yet.
Like, Jimmy's just been reading that on Truth Seeking.
Yeah.
He's been reading that, and it's been influencing the discussions in the shows.
Yeah.
It's quite fun because it's basically been 1984 versus Brave New
Well,
World.
I think it's both. Because Brave New World's all about drugs and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, giving
but-
them and cloning people and that.
Which they're doing. They're doing everything. I wonder if those guys knew when they wrote those books, and they may well have done, that they were actually writing a manual for the future.
Of how to do it.
Yeah.
Well, what if they were in like the party?
Probably were, yeah.
You know, well, are you into video games at all?
No, I'm not.
There's one called We
That's why
Happy
Scott should
Few,
be.
which combines 1984 and Brave New World and a couple other of these
Right.
dystopian things, and that was a terrifying game to play because it feels like it could be the end of the world there. But I'm not going to bore you with going on about a game that you're not going to
I'm
be
just
interested
trying to. I don't know how to work this fucking thing, so I don't even know how long we've been going.
That's okay. Well, if that's the case, should we say that's the foreplay over with and get into the
We better get on with it, yeah.
get into the topic itself?
Because it feels like we've been going a while.
I don't know. I should have checked the time beforehand.
I hope this is actually running.
There's a red light by the record button.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that means
Yeah, and there's a file. Oh, yeah, we've been going 22 minutes. That's fine.
that's all right.
Yeah.
Sure, should we get into it then?
Yeah, okay.
So-
Piltdown, man.
The Piltdown, man.
Yeah.
So you suggested it because you thought it'd be something that I would be into rather than the socio-economic stuff and
Yeah.
other bits that you go on about.
Well, it's
Yeah,
English.
Yeah,
And
we've not got the American with us today, so
Yeah.
Scott's not here. For
And
those of you that haven't noticed.
Yeah. And it's a great way of shitting on scientists.
Yeah, which is science. You know, we got to get that in because there are souls, and well, this proves that the liars done it.
Yeah.
So, do you want to? Because I've got the notes in front of me. Do you want to lay out a little bit of what you
Right,
can
okay,
remember
I'll-
about it,
so-
and then
Piltdown Man, I think 1900. There was this doctor who was called Dawson. What was his first? Charles Dawson. That's
Charles
right, yeah.
Dawson, yeah.
Charles Dawson was a country solicitor from Sussex, and he was a bit of an amateur archaeologist, and it turns out a complete pathological liar and hoaxer.
A great guy, an all-round good guy for the pub,
Yeah, because of all the other previous stuff that he'd pretended to have found.
which I have made a list of.
Yeah.
We can discuss in a little while because some of them have
There's the
been.
Pevensey tiles, isn't there? Because of all that stuff that he'd faked before, they'd made him a fellow of the Royal College of Geology and some other Royal College as well. So he was he was an expert, he qualified, right? And somewhere just down the road he lived somewhere in Sussex and near Hastings, and just down the road, a little village called Piltdown, they were mending the road. And he said to the workmen, because the gravel they were filling the potholes with was a bit of a funny brown colour, which apparently, if you're an archaeologist, means you can pretend that it's from a certain time period or something.
Okay.
I think it's got iron in it or something, which it's good for making fossils.
So
or
yeah,
something.
so it gives it that sort of orangey bit to it.
He says to these lads, he says, "Hey up, lads." Maybe it was from Yorkshire, I don't know. He said, "Now then, lads, I see you've got some brown gravel there. Where are you getting it from? I said, we're digging it up on the farm, mister. And he says, well, if you find out in it, fetch it to me, please, because you might find some fossils in that.
Which I'm going off knowing the story of it. He said that you might find some fossils in that with a few quick nods and a wink.
Yeah, you had to find out where it was so he could go and put them in there.
Yeah. Just hold off for a couple of days. You might find some fossils in there.
Yeah. So they did that, and in 1908 they fetched him what they thought was a fossilised coconut round. So they smashed it up, and they said, "Oh no, wait a minute! This is somebody's head."
Yeah.
Right. And they said, "Oh, well, it's too thick to be a modern man's head. It must be a fossil of an old head." And then he found a bit later. He showed that to the head of the British Museum. This is all the absolute blue chip institutions. And he just, according to the story, he just looked at these two chips off a skull, two bits, like when you smash an Easter egg. I imagine.
Yeah, he Rain Manned it, didn't he? And just built it again.
He just went. He looked at these bits of bone that looked a bit thicker than someone's normal monsters, and went, "Oh, that must be the missing link."
Yeah.
And this is what they do with everything, with dinosaurs. They find one little thing and they go, "Oh, I bet that was a 50-foot tall green monster's tooth."
Yeah.
I mean, it's really just a funny shape.
What are you on about, man? Shut up! You always do this. This is why we never bring you anywhere.
So yeah, they did that, and it basically set off this frenzy, and. But oh well, it could. All other scientists were going, well, it could be, but you'd really need to find a jawbone to see what exactly what it was.
And what he did, he got his little notepad out and licked his pen and went, jawbone, which he's going to get out a few times during the story as well. That little notepad. So
he went and got a orangutan's jawbone. And snap the bit off where it joins onto Ed, because that would prove it was an orangutan. Chemically treated. They boiled the skull in acid and shit.
Yeah, to age it. And what another thing he did was he filed down the teeth, which was kind of his coup de grace, if you like. That was his calling card, because he'd done that on 3 of the other fossils he'd found in the past that he'd lied about. He'd filed the teeth down to a new shape and then tried to age it. And then other scientists looked at it and went, "You scraped these teeth."
Yeah.
And when he found when he found, in air quotes, this orangutan's jaw attached to a human head, which was somehow 2 foot apart in a pit, and he's like, the scientist went, "Oh, this has got molars in it though. That doesn't seem right. If this was from the missing link, this would have canines, big canines." Oh, let me go and have another look.
And he waited till his mate was digging it. His mate was looking through the trench.
He effectively threw them in behind him, but while he's crouched down under his arse.
Hey, what's that?
Hey, is that some teeth there in that loose soil? I think they'd fit in here.
But it's just what they want to. It's very easy for somebody to. Especially imagine this is just a country solicitor who's just showing people because they wanted to find this to prove that the shit that Darwin made up was true. So they made up their own shit to prove it.
Well, I think he was trying to do it to prove that it wasn't true. I think there was an element of that to go, well, you won't let me into your boys' club. Because the whole story feels a bit like Around the World in 80 Days.
Right.
Where I've only seen the Steve Coogan version, but so Alan Partridge is there, and they won't let him into the club kind of thing because he's not doing the proper stuff. And then they're like, well, if you do all of this,
I'm going to build a balloon and travel around the world in 80 days, apropos achieving membership of the club.
Yeah, that's what he did. He's like, I'm going to find the missing link, and then I'll be the guy. You'll let me in. I'll be the boss. But they'd set up the playbook in it by going, look, we need to be clever. Let's say these are all from 60-odd thousand million years ago.
Yeah.
These massive dragons, right?
Yeah.
Let's say the dinosaurs as well, because everyone already knows about dragons. Everyone will just blame the Chinese, which is ironically where a lot of dinosaur fossils now come from. Yeah. Is the factories in China that make them, if you believe the websites I read.
Yeah.
And then it's as if he's gone and looked at it and gone, there's a lot of room, that. It's a lot of wiggle room in 64 million years.
Yeah.
What if we put it 500,000 years ago and I could just fill in the gaps from then to now?
Yeah.
People will understand that, because that's like the tantamount of journalism, innit?
Yeah.
So it's got to be something that appeals to people. It's got to be an interest, a local interest. He ticked off all those boxes as if to make the perfect news story to fit himself in.
Yeah, it's got to be something that people want to believe, and that's all. The scientists were all like, "Ooh, we love Charles Darwin so much. Let's make up some stuff to go with that little source." And so they took it hook, line, and sinker. The first bloke, the bloke who was the curator of the British Museum, I forget his name, they reckon he definitely wasn't in on the hoax, because after this Dawson character died when he was about my age from all the boiling bones in weird chemicals
absorbing bleach through his skin, the fumes of bleach.
Yeah. So he died young, well, middle age anyway. And
got to be quite a good age though for back then, considering his dangerous job. Because like the poor people were dying in the mines at like the ripe old age of 25.
Yeah,
like they'd be limping around. So he got a good age for someone who was, you know, inhaling stuff with before the invention of PPE.
Yeah, I mean he did all right for himself, didn't he? But look, he died of that, but the British Museum bloke spent all his summer holidays for the rest of his life, even after Dawson had died, going back to the gravel pit and digging for more. He thought he was going to find more stuff.
See, it's mad, innit, to think that someone who's such a profound scientist and curator could be so stupid, and we're supposed to believe these people. Yeah, it's bizarre, man. It blows my mind that, because that shows as well to some degree a level of indoctrination.
100%.
Because if you're being shown this isn't real, that's like someone coming up to you in hospital and going, "Look, I'm going to strangle you now. Yeah. You're going to die. You're going to see nothing. Yeah. And I'm going to bring you back, and you're still going to be a Catholic." Yeah. And the guy going, "Okay, yeah." Do you know what I mean? It makes no sense at all. It's bizarre to me. Yet when we start saying science isn't real as such, and scientists aren't real people, they're just mouthpieces for a book they read and kind of believed one day because they thought this is cool. Because I like the idea as well with scientists. Some of them are just like, "Oh yeah, this makes pretty colours. This is mint. I love this science." Yeah. Others are like, "Oh, I love monsters. Dinosaurs are cool. I'm going to be a dinosaur. Oh, I love the idea of going to space. I'm going to be a scientist." Yeah. It's just to capture all those little like autistic minds for the little different flavours, if you like.
And plus, they're like, they obviously don't like disagreeing with each other either, do they?
Well, they've got to all believe each other's nonsense because they're all building on each other's nonsense. I think there's also a degree of, well, if you're going to have that, then I'm going to have this. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like, oh, you're going to have Gigantopithecus.
Yeah, I'll have moon landing.
Yeah, I'm going to have the moon landing. I'm going to have that for me. For me, that's my thing. Yeah. You know. I like the idea as well, though. Every year they have a little party at Christmas, and they all draw straws, and whoever gets the shortest straw gets the one that they've all choose the whole like scientific theory that they've all pitched in together to write. Yeah. And they're like, right, this is the worst one. No one's ever going to believe this. Whoever gets the short straw has to make the world think this is true. Yeah. And they're all pissed on Christmas night, being like, "Oh, hey, it's not me." And
they've all got invited to the Morrison's Christmas do for using as a reward for using the self-checkout.
Yeah. And they let the staff there write it themselves. Yeah. Like, no one's going to understand it, but it's your job to make this believable. You've got to make this real.
Well, they just have it in a cracker, like a fortune. It's in your Christmas cracker.
Yeah, like a fortune cookie, and that's the scientific theory you've got to like push the next year. Yeah. Maybe that's how they should do science, though, just in general. They should just choose a thing and be like, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I'm fully upfront about the fact that I operate on the system of, if it sounds right to me and I like it, if it sounds right and I like the sound of it, it's true.
Yeah, that's a slippery slope, though. Yeah,
but why not?
Because you end up with an head like mine. Like, if you genuinely think like that and that's how you work, I don't understand how your head's not as like just complicated as mine seems to be.
Well, I'll tell you why. It's because I'm fully aware of the fact that it doesn't matter what I think.
Oh. So what's your craziest belief then, based on that mentality? What's the thing that you believe where you think most people probably think, poor guy?
Shane Gillis is a federal agent.
Do you think?
Yeah.
That's a hell of a shout, that. you reckon that ties in then with all these Down syndrome posts you keep seeing on Instagram then, where it's people going, just because I've got Down syndrome doesn't mean I can't X, Y and Z, and it's always
can't be a federal agent.
The most bizarre thing you've ever heard of.
I mean, there you go. If you think about like the CIA recruiting adverts where they had, you can be a woman with one leg or disabled or whatever, and you can still serve your country by telling lies. Right? There you go.
Yeah,
he's poster boy. He went to West Point, right, for 2 weeks.
Right.
And then resigned.
Shane Gillis did?
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Right, so he went to the top American military academy for, I don't know, a few weeks, whatever it was, and he left. He went on a football scholarship. Right. So there's where he could have got recruited, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Then he suddenly he's making all this money on his podcast. Anyone that makes like mega bucks on Patreon is suspicious, because that's a good way for clandestine operations to subscribe to. This is how he got the money, was just through his Patreon. I mean, that's literally how the Mexican cartels move money across the border. They open like post office accounts for loads of peasants.
Yeah.
And
sign them up to Patreon.
They sign up to people's Patreon. They give them the cash, and then they sign up to people's Patreons or buy stuff on Etsy shops and stuff in America with it, using the debit card that they get.
That's mad. I never knew that.
Yeah.
That's mint.
Yeah.
That's sick, that. I like the idea, though, that with Shane Gillis, he was, if he was recruited like CIA style, it was like Men in Black.
Yeah.
And it's like that Will Smith scene where he's like, why didn't you shoot? Why did you shoot the little girl? He's like, well, she's got a book, or a physics book. Why is she reading physics? She's clearly in trouble. This guy's just working out, he's putting all the aliens. And he's just there, just all the people around him, they're being shown little clips, and all these other people aren't laughing because they're all pretending that they're properly woke and that, and they say, oh yeah, we shouldn't laugh at this.
Yeah.
And he's just sat there crying from laughter.
Right.
And it's like, it's him. It's got to be. He's a natural.
Yeah.
Look at this. He knows exactly what people want to hear and see. It's got to be him.
Yeah. So, where are we with the Piltdown Man story? Basically, this became widely accepted, and they loved
for a while. For like 40 years.
Yeah, and whatever you look at, I've listened to loads of documentaries about it, right? And they all frame it in this, science really is great because in the end they found out. And by the way, at the time there were some people who were saying, no, it's not right, it's a load of bullshit, that's a monkey jaw, right?
Yeah.
But
the quote, I wrote down a little quote, a jaw that looked just like a young chimp's jaw.
Yeah.
And it's like, it looks identical to a young chimp's jaw. How fast, it's amazing. I love the idea that the second head he found was the top half of a chimp's jaw, and the top half of a chimp's head, and the lower jaw of a human, though. Yeah. I like the idea that's the second head he found. He's just swapped them right. I've got these bits left over here. Fuck it. Put them in that pit down there 2 miles away on the next farm over.
If it'd been from Yorkshire, we don't like to waste out in Yorkshire.
Yeah, exactly. He's using all the things.
If it'd been from Yorkshire, he would have done that. He'd have made one that had the head of a chimp and the jaw of a man.
And these two bred together. It made what we see today as humans.
Yeah. So,
do you reckon he was close to being caught for murder? Because he did a lot of cons. He's like his list of cons. He pretended to have found a live toad entombed in flint. He made a fake hammer, Chinese bronze vase, a fake axe, loads and shitloads of stuff to do with the Romans that wasn't real. He pretended he'd found an English sea serpent, and he also pretended that with the original Englishman he'd found a cricket bat made from an elephant bone. Right. So that's a load of nonsense that he's done. Do you reckon someone was like, look, we don't like what you're doing, we're going to have you, we're going to expose you, we're going to kill you? And he's like, no, I'm going to kill you first. Maybe. So he killed them, and that's where he got the body parts from for it.
Could be, yeah.
Because he also seemed to have ties to Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yes.
And Arthur Conan Doyle loves a bit of a murder mystery, and he would probably be a brilliant guy to have, Smackhead, have him kill for you, have him do the murder, and then be like, be a good idea for a book, wouldn't it, that?
Yeah.
What do you reckon, Art?
Yeah.
Shove that in a book, lad.
Yeah.
Get you some ghosts, some psychics in there. This guy over here, he said that your psychic mate is full of nonsense. He said he's a liar. This scientist here is saying your psychic reader friend, full of shit, mate. And Arthur Conan Doyle's just there, just tweaking and scratching his arms, like scratching the skin clean off his arms, being like, "Oh, fucking have him, mate."
Could have been that. Yeah, that's a viable. It's a viable theory. So yeah, fucking hell.
I also like that when they did prove that it was alive very quickly as well. It got
but
proven
not until
to be
the 1950s. So
no, that's when it got accepted. But
Yeah.
I think in the 1920s, so they had World War One, and they put
Yeah.
other resources into that, which kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
But then it does make sense. It would be stupid to be like, we've got all this stuff going on with mustard gas.
Yeah.
Let's not think about that though. Let's think about this Piltdown, man. Let's put all our efforts into proving the Piltdown, man. But they didn't do that. And the Royal College of Surgeons apparently took these bone fragments and then they put it back together with other bones that they had.
In a different shape, yeah.
Yeah, and it made, what looked like that medieval human skull he was on about
Yeah.
before. So they had the evidence from their reputable source and they're unbiased, if you like, but they still went, no.
Exactly.
Give this fella
that's
a
the point I was
monument.
making.
He had a monument made to him and it's still there.
Yeah.
But they know he's full of shit. It makes no sense.
And they got a replica made of the so-called fossils that they found, and it's still in his law firm's office now.
That's mad. What a you wouldn't want that though, would you? In law, you like look at our founder was a liar.
I don't know.
He's full of shit. He's not. Look how good we are.
Good lawyer.
I suppose. Yeah, it's a hell of an advert, isn't it? We con the whole world. Do you think that it's a possibility that what they were trying to do was, like, I got this belief about serial killers that they're not real. And that they were actually just CIA murders or whatever you want to say.
You need to reprogram to kill.
Not even. Oh, yeah, I probably do. But so my theory is that Richard Ramirez and all these Ted Bundy and that weren't murderers. Maybe they were. Maybe they got caught and they were like, "Look, we need to kill all these other people."
Yeah, they're part of a
but
group.
to hide this murder.
Yeah.
We're also going to kill an extra 10 people who kind of look like that person and pin it all on you, so people are like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, that's what all these serial killers are all like. None of them are working alone.
Okay.
It's like same with Timothy McVeigh. They're all working as part of a group, and then they're the fall guy.
I like how they blame Timothy McVeigh on a book as well. They're like, "Oh, he read a book and then he knew how to make bombs and how to time it and how to do everything he needed to do."
Bullshit.
Yeah, it's mental. A strange thing.
Well, they totally ruined that guy's life because they gave him all these injections when he was in the Gulf War.
I didn't know.
And it's like because he was one of those "my body's a temple" guys.
Right.
Everything was. He was he kept himself in perfect physical condition. When he came back from the Gulf War, his teeth started falling out, toenails falling out, all that sort of thing. And
radiation.
That's another one. Like Shane Gillis, they reckon he had an honourable discharge from the army. But if you from the book Programme to Kill, all these serial killers you're talking about, they've all got the same military records where they get discharged. They do like 6 months service. They all end up in the same flipping psych hospital in Germany, army psych hospital in Germany.
A lot of them also spent a good time in Hawaii as well.
Yeah,
which is weird.
And they get discharged, honourable discharge with full benefits. That's why they've all got the same.
Yeah, that's suspicious.
Yeah, that's why they've all got the same glasses.
Just for the listeners, as he's talking about this, I've never met him in person. Yeah. His eyes are popping out of his head.
His blood pressure.
His eyeballs. I could see the whites of the backs of his eyes. Then he's loving telling me this. He can't believe his look. He's like, "You don't know." See, I like the idea that in the same way with the serial killers, they pin it on one. They're like, "Look, we all know that dinosaurs are a lie. We know that's not true. We can't have everyone else catching on to that because we're about to base the next 200 years on the lie of dinosaurs making oil rather than the fact that it's an underground species of phytoplankton. Yeah. We don't want people to know that. We want them to think it's dinosaurs. They need to believe in the massive
you're
lizards.
One of these guys that the oil is just the blood of the earth and it's infinite.
Not that it's the blood of the earth, but it's been like supposedly proven by people no one believes that it's like the offshoot of a type of plankton, and sometimes it is just a type of very dense plankton.
Yeah, but it keeps making.
I would imagine so.
Yeah,
maybe not as fast as what it needs to be.
I believe that.
I don't think it replenishes as quickly as what we're possibly using it as. Yeah. They might need to take pauses every now and then, which would then add to the whole sense of the mud flood or Tartarian and all them sort of like mainstream conspiracy.
Well, there are more known deposits of oil now than there ever have been. Well, before.
Then there's not less to worry about, isn't it? Yeah. But there's so I like the idea that they're like, "Oh yeah, they need to believe in the dinosaurs. If they find out, but let's pin it all on this guy.
Yeah.
He's the liar. He's the one that's full of shit. It's not us. We're all he's wrong, and they can aim it all at him. All of the disbelief centred Dawson, Charles Dawson, which sounds a lot like Charles Darwin. Yeah. Just in case one day we need to swap the history books and go through them all again using Wikipedia, which I'm starting to believe Wikipedia is the essential, like, the party thing from 1984, where they've got a load of people sat in a room and they're like, look,
it's the Ministry of Information, Ministry of Truth. Yeah,
change this. He didn't do that. He was not there. Them people were there on September the 11th. They were all there. Everybody that was supposed to be anywhere was there. You know, change the history, so then people look at it and go, oh, I must have misremembered that. And I think that's the whole point of the Mandela effect and stuff.
You know, the old have you heard of the Franklin scandal? It's a big kiddie fiddling scandal from America, from Ohio.
A little.
Where all these kids from children's homes and like, you know, wayward youths were being rounded up in Ohio and flown around the world to be pimped. Well. Yeah, flown around to be pimped out to high level blackmail politicians type things. Well, a guy who completely documented the story, a guy called Nick Bryant, because he set out to disprove this conspiracy theory. He was a normie journalist, and he went and looked into it, and he found out, it's real. So he wrote a book on it, and now he can't. Now he's just
ruined his
self-employed.
life.
He's ruined his life.
Well, saying that, my missus is always. I talk about conspiracy theories to my missus all the time, and she's accidentally gotten into it by watching a Netflix program she thought was about murders called something Octopus or whatever. Yeah. And now she's coming to me going, "Have you ever heard of the Federal Reserve? Have you heard of this person? Have you heard of this?" And I'm like, "Yeah, that's blah 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 blah." And she's just like, "I had no idea."
Yeah, you're the perfect couple, aren't you? She's into true crime and you're into conspiracies. That's how everybody should be.
Yeah. Cover all the aspects of it.
You've got a long, happy life ahead of you. But the crossover, you see, the thing is, none of these true crime podcasts,
they don't touch the conspiracy sides. No,
and they don't. The thing is, you know, like I've said, that book, Program to Kill. They should. Because if they did cover that. Yeah. That would be the end of the show because, we've explained it all.
Yeah. Oh, it's the Satanic Panic, which Satanic Panic somehow stands for CIA operation.
Yeah, the Satanic Panic in History Homos lexicon is actually called the Satanic Underreaction because it just got smeared as being a panic because it all was happening. It was much worse than people were panicking about.
I like the Son of Sam stuff where he's like, the dog was telling me to do this. I watched a TV show that was saying that during that time period, it had nothing to do with the Son of Sam. Yeah. But it was like during the sort of, I think, mid to late 80s or so, we know that we and the Russians were using technology that used little radar dishes which you could aim at windows to bounce off of windows and go into other rooms, so it sounded like a voice was emanating from that room. Right. And the person would think it's coming from within themselves.
Right.
And you're like, yes, you're admitting to this,
but
you're still trying to tell us that a dog convinced a guy to kill someone.
So this guy who's been in the military, been on psych drugs in a loony bin in the military, then discharged with full benefits, and that's why they've all got the same glasses, by the way, because they're the best ones you could get from the VA.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's my theory.
Oh, okay.
That explains why they've all got the same glasses.
Well, even Ted Bundy worked in politics for a bit as well, didn't he? He was
a political operative,
which would be a mint way as well to be like, look, this guy here is doing very well politically. So, you remember that guy that we've got that has that thing for women with brown hair?
Yeah.
Pair him up with him. He's very charismatic. People will love him, and then we'll smear him, and by definition, by result of that, smear the guy he's working with as well.
Yeah, well, that's what I was going to say about Wikipedia. So we did this book on the Franklin scandal with Nick Bryant as the author, and he was kind enough to come on the show. And while we were researching that, so the main character, the main guy who was pimping these things was an Ohio politician, big wheel in the Republican Party. He was the most famous black guy in politics in the 80s, right? And he's called Lawrence E. King. And he actually, I can't remember exactly what happened. He went to jail over this because there was a financial scandal going with it. He nicked millions of pounds. He went to jail for that. Not for long though. And then he got out, and he was. I mean, literally, he's head of Young Republicans, head of Black Republicans, but head of everything, right?
Yeah.
And he was. I think he was maybe he was the mayor of somewhere in Ohio, or a congressman, or some shit like that, right? He's got no Wikipedia entry.
Yeah, that's terrifying.
Doesn't even come up.
Yeah.
So you tell me, Nick Bryant's got to be over the target there, hasn't he? And so, do you know what he's doing right now, Lawrence E. King? He's applying to get on the board, or the boards of children's charities are trying to get him on their board. And it's only Nick Bryant who writes to wherever the local paper is around there and causes a fuss. That's stopping him from doing it. He stopped him from getting 7 or 8 jobs on the board of children's charities.
How's he still alive then, Nick Bryant? How's that going on then? Because usually them sort of people don't do particularly well at achieving an old age.
I think they don't need to, because they've been able to. He's not named. He hasn't named anybody high up.
Okay.
I mean, you can draw your inferences from the time. He's had to be careful about it, because he's been shaken down by police and all that kind of shit a lot.
Yeah. Which just adds proof to it, which is mad, innit?
Yeah.
And then people are still like, no, he's full of shit. It's because he's harassing people.
Yeah.
You're like,
But they've managed to keep the. I mean, the book's a big deal in our circles, but it's not. It's still classed as a conspiracy theory, so...
Yeah, but they can shove a lot of stuff under that now. I've been enjoying that on TikTok. In a way, it's not put me off of conspiracy theories, but I'm on TikTok all the time to share my stuff and to find what's good and what I should post about and that, to sell me rats. And you see a lot of what seem like regular people who have just gotten into conspiracy like this week. And you can see the excitement still in their eyes. And I miss that, mate. I miss that, because I used to think this is amazing. Yeah. And now, when I think about it, I get this sort of like, I think I learned through therapy that it's a feeling of dread. Right. And you're like,
yeah,
it doesn't feel good no more to find this stuff out sometimes.
It's never really made me feel good, because I'll tell you, because I was never, until we started doing the show, you start. I mean, you know how in depth we go. We don't go super duper in depth.
No, but it seems like both you and Scott do a hell of a lot more research than me. You'll read an entire book for it. Yeah. Whereas I listen to a nutter on YouTube or BitChute. I love a bit of BitChute to find. So we
do try and, like. I'm not good at remembering people's names and stuff, but I can remember the stories, and I put the hours in, but until we started doing this, I wasn't into conspiracies at all. But if you just, especially when we started out, we were just selecting random topics. You go on for about, I'd say it was probably about 8 or 9 months of researching a random topic from history randomly every 9 months. You can't miss it. But nobody ever does that, do they?
Between it all, yeah. Well, so before you got into it, then, did you discover as you got into it that you found stuff out, if you like, through reading and research that you didn't know through reading and that beforehand, but already sort of instinctively knew and had figured out? And you were like, I just thought everyone knew. I never knew this was like a conspiracy. I just thought people believed this. That's how I saw the world. Yeah,
I suppose I did kind of know about it, but I think I still had some faith in the systems. And
what were the topics then where you were like, these are the ones? Like, I already knew this. I
knew all about this. Like fractional reserve banking and stuff like that. But, like, I was just like, oh well, that's. In fact, I have a much older brother. He died last year, but I was talking to him. But me and him were really on the same wavelength until I went off the rails, like, and. We were having a chat about it. He was never an arsehole. He was the nicest bloke in the world. But
you can say what you want about him, he can't hurt, you know.
His take on it was the same as what mine would have been before I got into this, which was, the politicians are all stupid.
Okay, yeah, a lot of people.
But but one of the last times I ever saw him, I said to him, we're talking about the you-know-what scene.
The you-know-what scene?
Yeah, the vax.
Oh, okay.
They're talking about that, and
see, that plays into before where you're like, the joke sounds racist, and I was like, oh yeah, you were talking about them, were you?
But I think the B joke might be anti-Semitic as well, which that's even better.
Just fucking You can fit anything you want to it, innit? Whatever discriminatory thing you want to be there.
But so I was saying, well, what if they're not stupid? What if they are getting the results that they want?
Yeah.
And like he'd never thought of that before, and I never had before I started looking into history. So I think that's really what I knew the basics of what it's all built on, but I just thought, oh no, they're all just useless. But they're not. They're pretty good at what they do, and it's like the Prime Minister of England and the President of the United States don't hold the levers of power; they are the levers of power, and somebody else is holding them. So it doesn't make no difference which Komatsu that machine operator's driving, does it?
No,
it's still going to do the same thing because it's the same bloke pulling the levers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
I there's a film, I can't remember the name of it, but it talks about something called the Kansas City Shuffle, and it's like when everyone looks left, you should look right, and it shows that person looking right is having their neck snapped, and that's why you should look the other way.
Right.
I think it had Lucy Liu in it. She played the neighbour, I think.
All right, not seen that. That sounds cool.
It was a good film, but that's the thing that made me think maybe I shouldn't believe what people say, and then from that point on, I just doubted everything.
Are you familiar with my movie selection rules that I have?
No, go on.
I won't watch a movie if I don't like the title.
That's a fair enough judgment, I guess.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, but it's just like, I don't know. Throw some movie titles at me.
So
Kansas City Shuffle for sure. I would definitely watch that.
I can't remember if that was the title of it, but I'll figure out what the title was and I'll let you know another time. Yeah. But so was you disappointed then by the title of films like Men in Black?
Men in Black.
Were you looking for something else, or was you thinking it's going to be MIBs, or was you thinking it was going to be a dirty film?
I did watch Men in Black because it's an okay title. It's about men. Okay, men do cool things, and they're in black. They're wearing suits. Suit. That's sweet. I think men should wear suits.
What about The King's Speech?
No, I've never watched that. I've no interest.
Film or name.
I've no interest in what any king has got to say.
No.
So.
Well, you'd spend most of the film apparently just struggling to understand what he's trying to say, don't
you? Does he talk like a...
I think he stutters in there about a guy that stammers or something, you know.
I stammer.
Do you?
Yeah, when I'm tired or sometimes I'll just get stuck on one word.
That's mad, that.
And I have to rephrase it and then I can say it.
Like Porky Pig.
Yeah, and then after I've rephrased it, I can then say the word that I couldn't say, like ringing a bell.
That's weird, isn't it?
But it's mainly when I'm tired.
Right, it's... should we get back to the bit of the... What have we got about the Piltdown
about that. Oh yeah, we're nearly at an hour.
Oh, buzzing. I'm trying to see what we haven't covered.
So, this bloke from Oxford, how it eventually got debunked in the public eye was this bloke, Cambridge University scientist went to his dean and said... and really this was just because this particular design of jawbone had become inconvenient to the current line of bullshit they were trying to make up about Darwin. So well, let's put a grant together and we'll do some research on this and disprove it because it's inconvenient for what we're trying to prove now. And they did that, and like you said, they found out the teeth had been filed, and then they went back and looked at all this other stuff and found out all about you got to rattle your list off of all these other fakes.
You want that again?
Yeah.
So my favourite ones at the top are a live toad entombed in flint. Because that's like the Schrodinger's cat of archaeological finds.
Yeah.
Like, here's a rock with a bit of a noise inside. It's a frog that in there.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, to be able to con someone into that, and then people went, oh, that's impossible. It must be true.
Yeah.
Like, why? Why'd you believe that? They didn't have X-ray machines or anything to prove it. Like, it makes no sense.
I mean, did he have a live frog and say, oh, you see this bit of flint that I've broke that's all hollow in the middle? It was in there.
From what I can tell, from my 20 seconds of reading about it,
yeah.
It was just a piece of flint that he
thought
was a bit hollow.
Yeah.
That he reckons, maybe, slightly, there's a possibility there's a toad hidden in there.
Wow.
Alive and well.
I mean, and this is all at the start of the 20th century, and he did a bit in the late 19th century as well, didn't he?
Before he died, yeah.
I like the 19th century. I think the 20th century sucks. But yeah, this is like, they were so open-minded.
Yeah, because it was new. Science was new. They just kind of gotten... I don't think it was that long ago they were like, yeah, alchemy's probably not a thing. Don't let the general people believe in alchemy anymore.
Piltdown's pretty harmless, and like there was, I listened to this one documentary, this old geezer on moaning about it and saying, people call it a hoax, but it's not a hoax because it's done such important damage to the field of archaeology. I don't care about the field of archaeology. I think it's bollocks. You should stop doing it. Right?
Well, it's weird that you can just dig something up and go, I reckon this was this.
Yeah.
And if you've done it, for some reason, if you've written enough books or read enough books, even that aren't related to it, everyone else will go,
yeah.
He knows his stuff.
Well, he's the bloke that found that magic frog, so...
Yeah, we've got to believe him. But I like the idea of that because you can't break it to check if there is a frog in there. And they didn't have the technology to test it. Because as soon as you break it, it's no longer a rock with a toad inside. It's just a broken rock with no toad.
I'll tell you where things have got worse, though, since then. Is that was just like all amateur sport's better than professional sport, and it's more entertaining.
Yeah, because they go for it.
Yeah.
The only sport I think should become a professional sport is roller derby. That is probably the only sport I would probably watch. I don't watch any sport on telly, but if they televise that, women's football doesn't appeal to me because I don't like football.
Yeah, me too.
Like, loads of people I think are already numb to football and all the sports that exist. People aren't watching. Fucking roller derby. Let's watch a load of people batter each other on ice, whatever it's called, ice skates or rollerblades.
You'll be too young for this. Have you ever seen kabaddi?
Yes, with the goat's head.
No, where they just push each other. It's like British bulldogs, but
I thought kabaddi was where there's people on horses dragging around a goat and they chuck it in a well.
Nah. Well, maybe that's the warm up for it. I don't know.
That is a sport, though. I know that is what I've just described as a sport. I've seen it on telly. Well, on the documentary.
When Channel 4 first launched in like 1982 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
They used to show kabaddi every day from India.
Oh.
And it's basically just put I think there's like one guy on one side of the court and all the other guys are on the other side of the court, right? And he has to try and get to the other side or something like that.
Right.
But he has to take a deep breath before he starts, and he has to say kabaddi, kabaddi, kabaddi.
It's weird that the Indians would go for that, isn't it? Considering the history of people putting a line in the way of certain people moving to certain areas. It's weird that they'd go, we didn't like it when the English did it, but if we do it to each other, it's probably okay. Yeah. There's a weird little...
But you have to the other team has to stop you getting across.
Right.
And you have to try and get across. But you've got to be saying kabaddi all the time when you're in the
right.
Thing, over and over again. And when you run out of breath, you've just got to run back to your own side.
It sounds made up, that.
Apparently, it's the biggest sport in India because you don't need no equipment for it.
I thought they were big into cricket.
Yeah, well,
I thought that'd be okay.
Kabaddi and cricket.
Kabaddi and cricket. Yeah. They should combine the two, make it easier for the guy who's got to get past.
Yeah,
give him a cricket bat. I like the idea that it's that the commentators, like, see if that was Channel 4 sort of like 2000 to 2008 where everything on Channel 4 was trying to be rude and controversial. What they would have
Terry Christian.
Yeah, they would have took the footage from it and cut the voice and they would have changed it to be like, and here we've got the local nonce of the town. Everybody's here, all of his victims' parents are lined up to beat him. He's shouting the name of the victims. Isabella, 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 Isabella. And then they go for it. Because that's what Channel 4 would have done. That's the Channel 4 I want to see anyway.
Yeah, they got inspired by those weird Japanese game shows, didn't they?
Yeah, they really go.
Yeah, we like those.
They like late night stuff. Well, right. Should we get towards the end of this?
Have you got any more of his discoveries?
Yeah, he discovered in it. What I quite like is I think he found it in England, an ancient Chinese bronze vase, which to me sounds a lot like a bell.
A bell?
Well, it does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A bronze vase is a bell.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a bronze vase before. It's not really something you'd...
Well, yeah, maybe from the Bronze Age. There's probably what else were they going to make?
I don't know. A bit of clay. They still like clay.
Well, if it's from China, you'd think they'd make it of China, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
The whole fucking place is made of it, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a game I play sometimes. Not to go on about games, I know you don't like it, but
that's right.
It's a Warhammer game where you put armies against each other on the computer.
Yeah.
It's mint. You can spend a day on it and still lose, and you feel like you've achieved something.
Right.
That's good. But all of the factions on it, monsters, mythical beings, slug monsters, all sorts, and then one of them is just called the Cathays, and it's basically just Chinese people who have no special powers.
Right.
And I just thought, I don't get how they got away with that, because that seems mental to be like, oh yeah, we've got, even the Nordics can like summon wolves and turn into animals. One of the Chinese guys can turn into a dragon, but outside of that, they've got no magical powers, but they still get sent to some hell realm to fight monsters.
It probably is based on like the whole Mongol Empire, because they just went through them. You know, like the Mongols went through the Chinese like shit through a goose.
Yeah, but
because the Chinese didn't have the Mongols didn't eat anything that wasn't part of an animal or an animal's milk.
Okay.
And they literally had a complete carnivore diet, and they drank blood and milk. And they fermented blood and milk into strong liquor and got drunk on meat. Right.
That's mad. Imagine what their farts smelled like, mate. Their hangover shits must have been awful.
The Chinese were just living there in China, all nice and peaceful, like, but they were just eating rice.
Right. Yeah.
And so they just didn't stand a chance, mate. Just whoosh. They had no powers. They couldn't do anything.
Maybe it is based on that a little bit. Then it just seems dodgy that they can get away with it. They just.
But the next episode we want to do is because it's about time to wrap up now. But the next time we do one, let's do one about pandas.
Pandas.
Yeah, because they were just made up in the 19th century as well. They don't exist.
Pandas don't exist in your head, no. I remember the exact moment my form tutor at school decided she doesn't like me, and she showed the whole class. This was like year 7 or maybe year 8, so I was like 12. She showed a video of that panda sneezing with its baby, and I'm convinced the whole class fake laughed because the teacher was showing it. I just sat there and stared at her and went, why is that funny? This isn't funny at all. It's just a snake. I can sneeze.
Why is the teacher trying to make you laugh?
I don't know. She didn't like it when I tried to make people laugh.
Yeah.
She didn't like my sort of like. She once called me a word that I still don't know what it means. I can't remember what it was, but I'd never heard it before.
Can you write that down, please?
Yeah, I should have done. Because she got us to describe. She made us watch an episode of Emmerdale in class, like half an episode of Emmerdale, where these group of lads, Andy and whatever else, kill their teacher by mistake, run her over because they're drunk driving, and then they burn the car. And she went,
"Who hasn't done that?
What would you do in that situation? And if this was you, what would you do?" My arm went straight up. And I went, "Miss, what I would do is I would say, Mrs. Jones, and I would chop her into smaller, more manageable pieces in order to increase the surface area of her body so that the fire could take hold of her body faster. And I would also take a line of the hose that I presume is in the back of the car because they're farmers to siphon some of the petrol out of the petrol tank into the car to act as an accelerant on the fatty deposits of the lady that they've just killed.
Right.
And then I would burn the car, but I would wait to do it at the farm so that I can dig a hole out in the farm I own to then burn them in the pit and then bury them over."
Yeah.
And then she used this word against me, which I don't know what it means. And then the stupidest girl in the
Ghoul?
class, I don't know. The stupidest girl in the class turned around and went, "Yeah, Jack, that's," and repeated the word. And I went, "You've got no fucking idea what that means, mate. I've never heard that word before. There's no way in hell you know what that word means." And then she just like shrunk into herself and turned away. And I was like, "Yeah, I've got you there." I think the teacher made up the word, and it just out of shock and like made
that would be funny. Honestly, if the teacher made up a word to use on you, that's cool. I like her now. That would be such a great thing to do as you're a teacher. Just make up words.
Confuse the smart kids in the class. The cocky ones that think they don't have to do any work because they know.
I think my English teacher actually did make up a word.
Well, go on. What was the word?
Because "Sir, what's the longest word in the English language?" And he said, "Floxinosi nihilipilification."
Oh yeah.
Which means the act of not giving a straw for anything. Which it's got some like Latin roots in it that would make sense.
Sounds like
that,
he's saying I don't give a shit. Shut up. Yeah. I made my English teacher laugh. This is just becoming a rambling thing now, but I remember making my English teacher is probably the reason why I kind of do what I do now for money, because he said a thing to me where he was like, "Look, there's going to be," because there was loads of stuff where I just misinterpreted what the guy was saying or what any teacher was saying. I just did my own thing for all the homeworks and courseworks and that. I remember one lesson I gave people what I called my pigeon theory, which still gets sometimes reminded to me by people I went to school with who I don't even speak to anymore and haven't for years, but they'll send me a message going, "I remember your pigeon theory." I don't, but it's just something I'd made up because I'd misunderstood what the thing I was supposed to do for homework.
You might have invented birds out of rail.
Could have done, but this was it was something to do with like a pigeon with a monocle. And I gave a talk on that to the class, and the teacher came up to me, "I don't know what that was about, mate. Don't know why you did that." It's like, "Oh, okay." But one of the lessons, he came up to me and went, "Look, Jack, I'm pretty sure there's a lot of times in your life you're not going to have a clue what's going on around you. You've got no idea. Just do something that's going to make people laugh, and I think you'll be okay." So I stuck with that, and one of the things I did in front of him, I think after he told me that, before he told me that, I think the same day after I'd done this, where some lad in the class class was throwing books, and one of them came towards me. So I waited until he turned around and then grabbed a dictionary and smacked him over the head with it, threw it into the back of his head. The teacher saw me and went, "Jack, what are you doing?" I said, "Oh, sir, my mum told me I need to start winning my battles with words." Like that. And just stared him dead in the eye, innit? And he sort of smirked, looked down, and then looked up without smirking and went, "Speak to me after class," and looked back down again, hid his face. And I was like, yeah, I did all right there.
Yeah. Well, on that note, I've got a little part because I work part time as a wagon driver, and I've got myself a little job that I can do. I work weekends doing that, and then in the week, I've just got myself another little job on the side. I'm helping to compile a dictionary.
Are you?
Yeah. It's twice as long as a normal dictionary.
Go on.
It's got an index.
Oh, yeah. That's a mint idea, isn't it? They should do that, mate. Add a contents page and an index.
I'll put a word in for you if you like.
Lovely. That fluoxetine thing that your teacher came up with, shove that in there.
Yeah, that's another thing, isn't it? People, we've got to wrap this up. But
it's all right.
Yeah.
I don't think I've got any more notes here, really. Oh, I've got one thing, actually. One of the quotes they said was for the Piltdown man. Yeah. It seemed to prove that there was a different type of evolution for humans in England and the British Isles than anywhere else in the world.
Makes sense.
Because it's an island. But also, and they said that's impossible, that can't happen. Yet Charles Darwin found the Galapagos, didn't he?
That's right, yeah.
Where there's loads of animals that have evolved to be like, they look like a mouse, but genetically it's a hedgehog. Yeah. So they look very different, but kind of the same, but they're not what we think they are. Yeah. But that happened there, and Darwin said it happened there, and that's fine. Yeah. Yet it couldn't never have happened here. Yeah. Which that seemed like it's because they don't want it to be that way. Yeah, it seemed like a thread they could have pulled though. So if he really wanted to keep up with it, Dawson, he could have been like,
what I was going to say earlier was, what's got worse about it is that it used to be like amateurs like Dawson who were just like doing it for fun or to make themselves look clever or whatever. But now it's everything is taken over by these massive, like, sort of fascist state stroke quasi-private massive corporations and banks, and they're in charge of all the Charles Dawsons, and they're deciding what's going to get made up, and like, so there's no point in even keeping up with it.
Do you reckon they'll make up more new stuff? Because they've just made up that thing about people seeing demon faces, haven't they? That's now going to be a big thing, it seems, where people are accidentally seeing people that look like demons and elves because they've got some form of, now there's a new type of brain disorder that's been invented.
All right.
And people now look like demons and elves to certain people.
Right.
Whereas I really don't believe that. I would much rather believe that there are demons and elves than suddenly loads of people. Because apparently it's a thing that's sweeping across the world. People keep accidentally seeing people that look like they've got elf
like they live. It's like maybe like they've got
exactly
they
like
live
they
concept.
Yeah, but instead of seeing like skinless lizard people, they're seeing elves.
Don't chew me microphone.
So that seems like that's the only thing I can think of that people have made up recently and tried to add to psychological things, psychiatry and stuff like that. They don't really go for physical things that someone can be like, well, what about this?
Well, I mean, everything's fake though, isn't it? Yeah,
I suppose.
Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber guy, he was like a professor of mathematics at age 26. He was an absolute maths genius. And he quit mathematics because it solves the last problem like the big problem that everyone's saying. He solved it. I don't know what it is because I don't understand what mathematics even is at that level. But
no idea.
Then he says, I realised that all this higher mathematics stuff is just bullshit. And anything. And there's a great movie. It's on Netflix for free called Das Netz. It's a German documentary, which isn't really about Kaczynski, but it kind of is. But it's well worth watching. We've covered it on the show years ago. It's German with English subtitles, but it's really good. And there's lots of English people interviewed in it who talk English.
But they're all speaking German.
No, they're all talking English. But they had interviewed this professor. It's called something Wolf. And it was just before he died, and he's like a world-renowned physicist, or was. But he basically did the same thing Kaczynski did. Was he quit because he realised it was all bullshit. but he didn't start sending letter bombs and stuff.
But really disenfranchised.
He was going, oh yeah. He goes, yes. Well, once you start talking about particles, anything about particles, it's fake. It's made up. It's not real.
That's mad. That if they just come up with that, they're like, look, we need more jobs. We need to keep. This is a good job. We need to keep. Well, go on. Maybe that's what it led to, or maybe the particle stuff led to psychiatry and things like that.
Maybe. Yeah.
And they're like, here's another thing that people can't see.
Well, we can't say. You don't want to say what led to psychiatry on your feed, do you?
I don't know. Give us a hint without going.
There's certain
religion
involved in it.
Oh, let's leave it there then.
Right. Anyway, so I've been William. This is Jack. So I'll say goodbye to History Homos. If you want to check me out with my co-host Scott on History Homos, you need to go to rockfin.com, rokfin.com/History Homos. That's the way we want you to access it, but you can get it wherever you get podcasts, but not YouTube, because we're not allowed on YouTube.
And I'm World Around You's podcast, EWE Like the Sheep, and Truth Seeking, where I've got a co-host called Jimmy. It's all to do with conspiracies or hidden messages I've found in TV shows and films, and I make stuff out of dead rats, if you don't know that, so come and buy some dead rats off me. There'll be a description in the thing below somewhere, so have a look for that. We've wasted enough of your time.
Yeah. Sweet. Thanks for listening, everybody. Toodaloo. Oh, Die With Dignity.
There's a 7-day free trial at the minute on my Patreon, patreon.com/worldaroundyou. You can join the £3 or the $3.50 tier, depending on where you are in the world, for nothing for 7 days to give it a go. Hundreds of exclusive podcasts, vlogs. You can read me books on there. You might as well while it's free, innit? What else have we got? There's new stuff on the website. I've started to make more stickers. There's magnets. And if you want stuff from Fat Pete's Prints, use the discount code DEADRAT or wherever the fuck it's been in all the other podcasts. It's never changed. I'll hopefully you'll go and watch my videos. Maybe you'll join the Patreon. At least take the free trial, innit? What you don't lose anything. Honestly, you can cancel it within the 7 days. But if you don't cancel it within the 7 days because you think, oh, you know what, he is worth £3 of my money to wear this other stuff and work my way through this, and maybe you want to get all these episodes from the old radio show and that long before you get them this way, join. You can watch them as videos instead. There's no audio of them on there. They're just the videos, the main episodes. And you can hear them as they went out. Well, you can hear them without the music in. Maybe I'll make a music playlist as well with all the music that I used to put together. But I don't know if that's just an empty promise. Either way, join the Patreon. Fucking look in the other episodes for discounts. And please leave a 5-star rating on the show and all, wherever it is you're listening to it, because that helps. That's supposed to really help me reach new people. So that would be nice. I'll see you in a bit.